Hey there guys, and welcome to FP1 and welcome back to the Post-Podium podcast after a surreal Tuscan Grand Prix. I'm not even over Monza yet, but here we are, and it's another banger, and another fantastic race as well. I'm blown away, honestly. I mean, yes, okay, it's a Mercedes 1-2, but probably one of the most exciting Mercedes 1-2 race I think we've had in the turbo hybrid era. So I'm here today to discuss this with Raz on F1. Honestly, one of the most inspirational guys on the platform at the moment. If you don't know what the Postpone podcast is, actually, it's been a couple of days since we've watched the Grand Prix. And now the excitement has tuned down a little bit. We're going to sit down and talk about it. But just before we do get into things, Raz, like I said, absolute pleasure to have you on the show once again. Do you want to just explain a little bit about what you do over on your channel?
Yeah, cheers, Will. And first of all, I want to congratulate you for 5,000 subscribers.
Thank you very much.
Cheers for having me on. And over on my channel, I basically do similar things to what Will does, except from the comedy, because I'm not as funny as Will is.
I mean, calling me funny, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. You're already kind of raising my ego up, I think, on this one, Raz. But hey, we'll see how we go. But yeah, obviously, Raz's Twitter link, you can see it on screen now, and also his link to Twitter and YouTube will be down in the description below. So make sure you go and show his channel some love as well. But yeah, let's jump into this. I don't really know where to start on this one. I said that last week with Monza, but I'm in the same situation yet again. There was just so much going on. I guess if we just start with the race on the whole, how would you describe that one, Raz?
Crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. I completely agree. It's obviously 2 red flags. We've not seen that since Brazil 2016. Whoa, I think that's such a good place to start. The red flag rules. Part of me kind of sits here and thinks, I wonder if they put that red flag out maybe a little bit easier than they, or they're a little bit more lenient with the red flags than normal, given the excitement that caused in Italy. Obviously, we saw 2 today. Is that the right thing for Formula 1? What's your opinion on this red flag fiasco? Because it's caused a little bit of controversy, I think, in the days after the Grand Prix.
I don't know whether you saw the live stream yesterday with Mark Priestley. Shout out to him, actually. He's been on my channel recently, but he was saying, and I tend to agree with him, that the red flag is almost thrown too fast because we haven't had the VSC for God knows how long, and I think it's just thrown too easily. Having said that, if there is danger on the track, then it's better to be throwing the red flag rather than anybody getting injured or even worse.
Exactly. The way I see it is it gets to that safe. With a safety car, you've still got cars going off the track, and we've seen what can happen when you've got recovery vehicles out there and the car's gone off the track. We've seen that before,
Yeah.
And if there's no cars on the track, I think that's the safest option. And at the same time, from a fan's perspective, you get another race start, which is always an exciting thing to watch as a viewer, and especially a general viewer as well. I think by the time that second red flag came out, Hamilton was about 8 seconds up the road from Bottas, and there was no way we were going to see a fight for the lead. Yes, after the restart, Hamilton still ran away with it, and Bottas had a bit of a poor start, falling behind Ricciardo. But at the same time, it gave us that opportunity to see another fight for the lead. And I think IndyCar does that quite well. And it's why I think races like the Indy 500, despite just being an oval, is a very exciting race, because they will throw cautions out and bunch the field up for pretty much anything. And that encourages more overtaking. Another race start, which means you could see someone like Ricciardo, for example, in that second restart, bomb it up to second place. At the same time, at the first restart, we saw Albon fall the way back. So it's I think it's great for the fans, personally, to watch another race start. I'm kind of all for it. It did feel a little bit silly, I think, when the second red flag came out. But, I think after I saw Stroll's car and how it was on fire, I thought, what? Safest possible option. Stop the cars going round at a very high-speed corner anyway. And especially if the curbs are causing failures like we saw with Stroll, we could easily see one under a VSC or under a safety car. So, for me, I'm all for the red flags. That's just my view on it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm a bit worried about the red flag not indicating that it's a serious incident. You see what I mean?
That's true.
I think the red flag should only be for a serious incident, as in it needs to be stopped, rather than anybody going off.
That's true. I mean, that said, let me put it to you this way: how many laps would it have taken for them to get rid of Stroll's car? Because there was only about 13 laps left in the race, and by the time and especially when it caught fire as well, it could have meant the race ended under VSC. Or ended under the safety car. And we've already seen in the F2 race that the Marshals weren't particularly great at getting cars out the way. I think with the Lacey's car, they got it stuck in the gap, and they had to chuck out a full safety car to actually make that car safe to get out the way. I think, you've got to give it to them. It's not a track that normally hosts the Formula 1 Grand Prix. They're not going to be as experienced as the main circuits on the calendar. But that's just my take on it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. It was the right decision for this race. But I'm just thinking about the future races that's coming up.
Yeah.
I think for this race, it was absolutely 100% the right decision. As I said, I don't want to come across as too dark, but I was really worried about, especially the second incident, that somebody was getting seriously hurt, if not worse, and I don't really fancy doing another tribute because we could have lost somebody. I don't really fancy doing another tribute, so in this it was the right decision.
Yeah, no, agreed, definitely. Let's move on to something a little bit brighter. Let's talk about Alex Albon, because he had a bit of an up and down race, didn't he? I mean, he got ahead of his teammate at the start. Obviously, Verstappen, that was due to a power issue in the engine. Was fairly solid in the first half of the race, maybe slightly lower down than he should have been, but still, it was all right. Then the first restart happened, and he just fell all the way to the back of the grid, which wasn't particularly great. And I know a lot of people who are Albon fans and they were receiving quite a lot of hate over Twitter on that one. But you know what? Second restart, he brought that back, and I'm a massive Danny Ric fan. I've made that very, very clear. So I was gutted to see him lose that podium, and I think without that second restart, Ricciardo probably could have held on to the podium on the tyres that he was on, and with the tyres and strategy that Albon was on. But you know what, Alex, he got that first podium, and I'm still happy to see it, because I think he needed that, not just for his confidence, but also to try and keep that Red Bull drive for next year. And I feel like now he's got that podium. He's done what Pierre Gasly couldn't do at Red Bull. Obviously he's done a fantastic job in AlphaTauri since, but he's done what Gasly could never manage and get into the top three. And he was doing the job that the team wanted him to do, Verstappen probably wasn't going to be able to challenge the Mercedes anyway, but when he went out, he needed the car to pick up the pieces. And that's what that second Red Bull car is basically for, and that's what Albon did today.
Yeah, I mean, Red Bull are in a bit of a dilemma, aren't they?
They really are.
Because, if you look at it from the point of view, again, playing the devil's advocate here, Albon has finally got his podium, third place, but then Gasly managed to win in Monza in a AlphaTauri. Yes, granted it was a crazy race, but which one almost, which one do you regard higher?
Yeah, it's a really tough one, and for me personally, I'm kind of in that group that doesn't think that Gasly is the right fit for Red Bull. I almost feel like Red Bull don't deserve Gasly, given the way that they treated him, especially last year. And for me, I'd love to see Gasly step up to another top tier team. I don't know how he'd do it. Maybe I'd say take a gamble. I'll stick with AlphaTauri to next year and then perhaps move into, say, a Renault car or a McLaren car if a seat becomes available for the new regulations, and maybe that can help him kind of push up the field, and if one of those midfield teams has a sudden surge in performance, because AlphaTauri, it's never going to be a top tier car, and that's because they're the sister team to Red Bull. You know, Red Bull are never going to let the AlphaTauri car be able to consistently challenge the Red Bull car, and that's just because the Red Bull car is the lead car, and you know that's just the way it is with that company. So I feel like Gasly, he always needs to get out of that program now. Yeah. Obviously, he didn't have the best race today or best weekend today. Not all necessarily his fault. I think, you know, we've seen kind of coming into that turn 2, turn 3 complex was that big first lap pile up. That, you know, we saw in Formula 3 and Formula 2, there have been incidents there all weekend. And when you've got even bigger cars all bunched up into quite a small space of track, something like that was probably inevitable. So you've got to feel for him today. But I do hope, I think you know, he'll kind of brush it off the shoulder. I think Gasly will be fine for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got to take it with whatever happened in that race, in the Mugello race, with the pinch of salt, really, because I don't think we're going to return there because of a certain virus. I'm not going to mention the name because otherwise Willie's going to get demonetized, but you know, but we all know with the current situation, I don't think if we wouldn't have had the current situation, I don't think we would have ended up in Mugello.
No, definitely not.
And I don't think it's, you know, Mugello is sort of more towards the MotoGP guys, I think. I mean, it was an epic race, but you know, and with the restart, I think. I mean, I think Valtteri Bottas got a lot of criticism for, you know, a lot of people thought that it was his fault, but you know, he did nothing wrong. And if the drivers knew the regulations a bit more, I mean, I'm not saying that they don't, but it clearly states that you can't floor it until you cross the start finish straight, doesn't it? So yeah. I don't actually understand how that came about because, and I'm a bit confused really, and a bit worried that they only sort of gave them a reprimand because I think I mean, you know, they should know the rules, and you know, could have been a nasty incident.
It definitely could have been, you know, and thank God for the halo as well. You know, we saw with Carlos Sainz's car, you know, fantastic that's in. There's a photo going around which just shows the moment that Gio was kind of launched up into the air, and it's frightening, really, to look at. Yeah, I kind of agree. Personally, I would love to see Mugello back, and I think from the fans' perspective, we all kind of went into this one from Monza expecting it to be dull because Monza was brilliant, and then the fact that, you know, that we can't really overtake there, or at least we didn't think we could overtake there. That kilometre-long straight was fantastic, you know, and it was that. I think they got the DRS zones perfectly right in that it wasn't like Spa where the overtakes were too easy, and it wasn't like Monza where the overtakes were too difficult, you know. It was that perfect bit where you could get alongside and you could break into turn 1 and make it like a good move, and then the driver defending can still fight around the outside. I thought that was fantastic, you know, and I think it's going to be down to Mugello if they want to come back onto the calendar, because I feel like if they ask and try to make a bid for it, I think the fans would be happy with it, the FIA would be happy with it. You know, Tuscany, it's a beautiful place as well. I think it would get quite a lot of fans in. So I personally wouldn't mind it. It's, as you said, whether it should be based on safety. You said it's a MotoGP track. I don't know. I think I will leave that one down to the comment section below. Do you guys think we should see Mugello back on the calendar, or do you think this should be a one-off and leave it as it is? Because you could also say we'll get there next year, and there's no way it'll be able to live up to what we saw this time around. So, hey, I don't know. But the last one I want to talk about before we get onto our predictions, and we can't talk about this race without talking about Ferrari. Now, when we did a podcast earlier in the year, I went and said, I think Sebastian Vettel could make a title challenge. Now, this was before the season. I'm not going to lie, I feel like an absolute idiot.
Were you drunk when you made that prediction?
I wasn't, but I feel like I could argue that I could have been. We knew Ferrari were going to struggle this year, I think, but I think we didn't realise how badly it was going to go. A new livery. I personally really like the new livery. I think a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was quite nice, just personally. But, the new livery didn't really fix things. Leclerc looked pretty strong. He's in P3 at the start of the race, capitalising off the likes of Albon getting a poor start and Verstappen obviously falling back to the rear of the field. And, I think he qualified 5th as well. So I guess good for Leclerc. Leclerc's still showing. I do feel for him because he's got all this pace that we saw last year, and he's just kind of falling away in the limelight, and he's not being talked about as much as he was in 2019. But, yeah, what do you take from Ferrari's weekend? Because, they finished the race, which is better than Monza. You got to give them that. But, yeah, just not great.
Ferrari. Now, I have made a video recently in response to yours, actually. You might want to link it on your. You might want to link it on your cards with the one that you did, if you could. But Ferrari, first of all, I loved livery. I absolutely loved it. Again, it's with Ferrari. I almost feel like they are resting on their they are resting on their laurels too much. On their past glory. It would be the same as if you said, "Oh, I've got 5,000 subscribers now. Now I'm just gonna do average content and the people are gonna stick with watching it just because I've got 5,000 subscribers." But what I'm trying to say is they're almost a victim of their own success, I think, because yes, they have had all this success, and yes, they do have a massive standing in the sport, but you can't. It's 2020. You can't keep on bathing in your former glory, and make out that you're the best team. If you are the best team, then you should be able to deliver. It's just, I think they're a victim of their own success, and I think, I think McLaren, who are in a similar position, I think they've done it better in that they've said, "Oh, we're not gonna challenge for we're not gonna challenge for titles anytime soon." They were doing absolutely diabolical when Fernando Alonso and Honda was there, but they didn't even shout at we're gonna fight for podiums or whatever, and they just quietly got on with it and sort of they're slowly on the up, and I think that's what Ferrari need to do.
Yeah, I agree. So let's finish things off then, because I'm a little bit worried about time now. We'll just think ahead to 2 weeks' time now for the Russian Grand Prix. Raz, very quickly, if you give me a top 3 prediction and a bold prediction for the weekend.
Williams to get their first points.
I'd be very happy to see that.
I would say Hamilton to win. Bottas second. Albon another podium.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I'm going to say Bottas to win this one because he's been very good around the Russian Grand Prix. Won his first Grand Prix there. Should arguably have won a couple of years ago in 2018 as well, before the Valtteri it's James situation all came in. So I go Valtteri first, Hamilton second. And you know what? We're due a dull race. Let's go Verstappen third. And then for a bold prediction, this is where it gets difficult. I'm going to go for Racing Point to have another shocker and get a P9, P10 finish. I don't know. I'm just feeling it. I feel like Racing Point, they're on that limit now where it's no longer every track they're going to be good at. It's only the tracks that suit them because the other cars are out developing them. So that's my thoughts on it anyway. But do you add anything quickly at the end, Raz?
Yeah, just quickly. I just want to have your opinion on this. Do you think Hamilton is even going to be there? Because the reason why I'm saying that is because the FIA are supposedly investigating him, and he could face a one-race ban, couldn't he?
Well, possibly. To be honest, I don't. I think he'll be there. I think the only reason Hamilton won't be there is if he decides to openly rebel and refuse to go to the track. But I feel like Lewis is going to be there. This whole thing with the T-shirt, it's just an utter joke from the FIA, if you ask me. I think, you know, it's not a political message, and it shouldn't be ever made out to be a political message. But that's my thoughts on it anyway. But we'll finish things off then. Raz, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on this one. Don't forget to check Raz out. All links to his channel will be down in the description below. I've appeared on a few of his videos as well, so I'll leave links to them down there as well. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave your predictions for the Russian Grand Prix down in the description below, down in the comments below, and me and Raz will try and get back to as many of you guys as we can. But yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you all next time.